We'll start in another minute. Give a few more people a chance to join. Yeah, it looks like our participant numbers have stabilised, so I'll make a start. Hi, I'm Joanne. I'm the SIG convener, and I've just got a couple of housekeeping things, and I'll pass you over to Eb. So I'll just start off with a karakia. Tūtaua mai runa, tūtaua mai iroa, tūtaua mai iroto, tūtaua mai iwao. Kia tū ai te maritu, te mari ora, ki te katawa, humie, huie, taitie. Okay, so this session is being recorded and it will be available on the LIANZA YouTube channel later today or tomorrow, just when Jessica gets a bit of a chance. I'll now pass you over to Em to go through our presentation for today.
Thanks, Joanne. Okay, I will try my screen share and hopefully it works properly. Right. This presentation builds on the one given by Charlotte Christensen last week. It also builds on the ORDAC presentations given by Charlotte, which can be found on the RDA Toolkit YouTube channel. I will be making these slides along with the speaker notes freely available after the presentation. Right, okay, the first glitch. Now why? Right. Cataloguers have always had to make decisions on what they are cataloguing before they even start to actually catalogue. The pre-cataloguing thinking questions still remain. For example, what is this thing? How is it published? Is it a one-off or will it be published over time? Is it a single unit or a multiple unit manifestation? The questions to the answers, rather, to these questions will guide you to the descriptive profile you will use. However, even though the underlying types of questions remain the same, the terminology used to describe things will change. So instead of a monograph, you will use the term static work. After going through the pre-cataloguing thinking, I've decided the thing, which I've now nicely left on my work desk, I'm going to catalogue is a single unit static work. It's the Witching Tide, which Charlotte showed you last week. Having said that, you will always start with a manifestation, as that is what you have in hand. So how then do you decide what elements to record? There are a lot of them, so where do you begin? You know that you will be starting with a manifestation, so you will definitely have some elements from that entity. Thank you. Witching Tide. RDA provides some help. In guidance resource description, RDA lists what is required for a minimum description of a manifestation, which is what we will be cataloguing today. Effectively, it is 2 elements. However, this is hardly going to be an effective description in most cases. In the same resource description chapter on effective description, RDA has further guidance on what other entities and elements you can select for an effective description. One of the tools you can use is an application profile. RDA provides a guidance chapter on application profiles as well, as they are an integral part of how we navigate the toolkit and have it work for us. But You don't need to write your own. From the guidance chapter, the definition is an application profile specifies the entities, elements, and vocabulary encoding schemes that are expected in a set of metadata that meets the functions and requirements of an application that uses the metadata. Okay, so let's work through that statement. An application profile specifies the entities, work, manifestation, person, etc. Elements, manifestation title proper, manifestation identifier for manifestation, etc. Vocabulary encoding schemes, RDA carrier type, Library of Congress name authority files, and so on, that are expected in a set of metadata. So, for example, what you would expect to see in your current bibliographic record that meets the functions and requirements of an application that uses the metadata, that meets the requirements of your catalogue and users. So, in a nutshell, what elements am I going to need to record for use in my catalogue? There is more to it than this, but for today, that is enough. A number of libraries and organisations will be developing application profiles, so you don't need to do your own. Find one that suits your library and use that, or find one that is very close and tweak it. The National Library will be developing metadata application profiles, which will be made publicly available. So the main thing to remember is you don't need to do this yourself. You can use someone else's. So here is an application profile I've prepared for today. This profile is for this webinar, and there is a lot missing from here, not only to elements that your library may wish to include, but also whether elements are repeatable, whether they are mandatory, etc. Today, I'm going to concentrate on manifestation elements. A full application profile would also have elements from the work and expression entities. My profile tells me what elements I need to record and the recording method. We won't have time to go through every element on this profile, but I will cover an example of each of the recording methods. Okay, now that I've done all the preparatory work, how do I actually catalogue a book using official RDA? The first element in our application profile is title proper. Charlotte showed us last week how we were going to get the value for this element. Therefore, I'm not going to repeat that today. The recording is available to review if needed. I have added my element title proper to my worksheet. I will continue to add the element values as I go. Remember that RDA is a content standard that is encoding standard neutral. This means that you can encode your data in XML, RDF XML, or Mark 21. When working your way through RDA and the element values you wish to record, please do not think encoding first. Think data first. That is why simple data input templates, even on paper, are so useful. Okay, moving along. The next element is a statement of responsibility relating to title proper. The thing to remember from last week is that my source of information for title proper was the title page. As I have just recorded a title proper, I now want to record a statement of responsibility relating to this element rather than just any statement of responsibility. A subtle difference, but an important one, as we'll see shortly. Before I start, I'm going to remind myself of what the title page looks like. Granted, it is a bit awkward in a PowerPoint presentation. First, let's make sure that I understand why I'm at this element by reading the definition. A statement of responsibility that is associated with a title proper. Yes, this is what I want to record. I know what my source of information for my title proper is, a title page. The element I am wanting to record is the statement of responsibility relating to the title proper. So my source of information for my statement will be the same, the title page. As Charlotte showed us last week, I start at the top of the page and look for the National Library policies. There we are. Policy statements first. Looking at the pre-recording, I see a National Library policy statement, but that deals with music, so it does not apply to me. I don't have a facsimile and reproduction, so the pre-recording statement doesn't apply either. At the option, I have a do not apply, so I don't even need to read the option. Moving to the recording section, I am told to record an unstructured description, the same as my application profile. Reading the first statement, under recording, I am told to go to manifestation, statement of responsibility, a broader element. As I've been sent here, I don't need to worry about the definition and scope or the pre-recording. So I move down to the recording section, and I apologise, you'll probably end up seasick, but this is a way down the page. There we are. At the recording heading, I have a policy statement to look at National Library guidance. Normally, I would click on the NLNZ guidance link, but as this is still in development, I'm going to the offline document. As an aside, since I will be moving around a number of elements, rather than scrolling up and down the NLNZ guidance document live, I've screenshot the relevant sections, plus a reminder that the document will be publicly available once complete. Reading the relevant section in the guidance tells me generally not to abridge a statement of responsibility. It tells me what to include and what to exclude. I also have some specific guidance for moving images, but that doesn't apply to me. With this general information in mind, I go back to the toolkit. I can ignore the first statement under recording, as I have a static work, not a diachronic work. In other words, a book that is published one time, not over a period of time. The next section on the page is about recording an unstructured description. The policy statement tells me to apply this option, but only when told to do so. As I haven't been told to use this option in this case, I can move to the next option. I'm told to apply this option, which is to record an unstructured description by transcribing text and spoken word content from a manifestation. So I'm transcribing text using normalized transcription. Clicking on the link would take me to the transcription guidance. For ease of use, today I have taken a screenshot of the page. Looking through the table of contents, the section that would apply to me is capitalisation. In the interest of time, I'm only going to look at this section, but I do encourage people when they are first directed here to read the whole page carefully. As Charlotte mentioned, the National Library's policies on transcription will be in the September Toolkit load. So cheating slightly, I'm going to use Charlotte's previously prepared PDF version. There are three options that are applicable to me. Capitalising the first letter of a word. Yes, this applies in my case. I am recording an unstructured description, so the second option on the screen would also apply. In my case, except I have a do not apply for the element manifestation statement of responsibility. The exception here is for those cases where you may have by person A, and you wouldn't want to capitalise the by, and capitalising proper names, which I do apply. Okay, continuing down the statement of responsibility page. So I've just looked at this. I come to the next option, which has a policy statement to only apply to early printed resources, not relevant. The next option is, which I am told to apply and which directs me to the National Library guidance, covers abridging a statement of responsibility. I've already checked the National Library guidance on this element, so I'm not going to do so again at this point, but I could if I wished. I don't have a long statement, I just have one person. So this option isn't applicable in this case. This takes me to the next option, which again I am told to apply, but I have an agent, so it doesn't apply to me. Looking at the table of contents, I can see that there are no other sections that would apply. So I can go back to my initial statement of responsibility relating to title proper using the browser back button. Reviewing what guidance I have gathered so far, I know that my source of information is the title page as I'm finding a value related to the title proper. I know that I'm using an unstructured description recording method. I know that I don't abridge a statement of responsibility except in certain circumstances. I know I need to use normalised transcription for my statement of responsibility and that I capitalise a proper name but not necessarily the first word in an unstructured description. Working my way through the conditions at this recording, at this element rather, the first doesn't apply as I have a single value. The second doesn't apply, I have only English. The first option, without any conditions, has a policy statement of do not apply and what to do instead. However, the option doesn't apply as I will be recording a statement of responsibility. The second option, which is also a do not apply, do something else instead, doesn't apply as I don't have a variant form of name on my title page. I'm now at the recording an unstructured description section where I have a policy of apply and see National Library guidance. Checking LIANZA guidance for this element, I'm told to record a statement identifying the creators of the content and to exclude statements relating to production. plus, if in doubt, to include rather than exclude. I don't need to concern myself with the rest of the guidance as I don't have an early printed resource nor a score. Okay, going back to the toolkit and reading the option, I'm effectively told to do the same thing, to record a statement identifying the creator. Double checking the title page, since I don't have the book next to me virtually, I have one creator value to record, Margaret Mayer. I check the element page to make sure I have no other instructions. I don't, as data provenance is a do not apply. I can now add this value to my worksheet. There. The other four elements are also recorded as unstructured descriptions. I won't go into these today. The next element is manifestation identifier for manifestation, which has a recording method of identifier. So looking for identifier for the element and hoping I can spell. Again, I start with the definition and scope and check I understand why I'm at this element. A nomen, in this case meaning an identifier, that is an appellation of manifestation, i.e. a label of the manifestation that consists of a code, number, or other string, usually independent of natural language and social naming conventions. In other words, a string that doesn't have an inherent meaning or one that you could read into the string, used to identify a manifestation. In short, a number that can be used to identify the manifestation. In the next paragraph, I read that my identifier includes those from internationally recognized schemes. I know that an ISBN is internationally recognized, so I can use this element to record my ISBN. Moving to the pre-recording, I have a National Library policy statement that applies to music, so not of interest. Reading under the heading, I have a physical item, not an online resource, so the first sentence doesn't apply to me, nor does the second, as I don't have a related manifestation in hand, and I'm not asked to record one in my application profile. The first option is a do not apply, so I move on. At the recording level, the National Library policy statement tells me to use the identifier recording method and to go to guidance. Reading the first sentence, it tells me to record all identifiers on a resource unless instructed otherwise. For monographic resources, which is what I have, I record the ISBN for the manifestation described first, and I don't enclose any qualifiers in parentheses. The paragraph under recording, the recording heading, talks about the nomen string. From Charlotte's presentation, I know that this effectively means I take what I see. The policy statement at the first option tells me to apply this to an ISBN. I've just read the guidance, so I don't need to go back there. I now read the option, which tells me to record a value in a specified display format for a specific identifier vocabulary encoding scheme. Effectively, this means as specified by the ISBN agency, as this is my identifier vocabulary encoding scheme. This nuance will become apparent later. The next option, which scrolling down, so at this option, even though it says to apply, this is for identifiers other than ISBN, so not applicable in my case. Moving to the third option, I'm told to apply if present. The option talks about a trade name, which I don't have. Now I'm at the option of binding or format, and I need to go to guidance as I'm told to apply this option. Reading further, I have additional guidance on qualifiers specifically for ISBNs. While paperback and hardback are strictly speaking not RDA bindings, they are used as such in common parlance, so this guidance would apply. I record a qualifier provided by the publisher or one of the terms in the list, but I don't enclose it in parentheses. Remember from the previous guidance in red. The option tells me I can record a type of binding with my identifier. Moving to the next option, which the policy statement tells me to apply. Reading the option, I can include a note if I consider it important for identification or access. In my current case, this doesn't apply as I don't have other details to record. So moving on. I don't have the following condition as I have a static work, not an integrating one. Looking at the table of contents, neither of these conditions apply either. So moving down the page to the identifier recording method, making sure I don't scoot past it. Here we are. So because that is the method I've been told to use, the first option is a do not apply. So I don't need to even consider it. The second option, I apply. This tells me to record an identifier from any source of information. The source I'm going to use is the verso of the title page. Rechecking that page. At the bottom of that information, I can see ISBN and a qualifier. There is a link to general guidance on identifiers, but I don't need to consider this. The next section in this recording method is data provenance, but I have a do not apply. There is nothing further in this recording section for identifier, so I'm done. I have values I can add to my worksheet. And I'll put the ISBN in there. The next element is manifestation, extent of manifestation. This element has a lot of options and is not as clear as it could be. The RSC has a working group looking at it, so expect changes in the not too distant future. The National Library is also reviewing its policy statements at this element. Therefore, I won't be going through it today. However, there will be guidance on how to record this element, so stay tuned. The next element at my worksheet is manifestation carrier type. So I'll work through that as a structured description example. I know the drill by now of starting from the element definition. Yes, I understand what this element is for. There are no policy statements at pre-recording. There is information there that is important as it deals with entity boundaries, but that is a topic for another day. I move on to recording. I'm told by the policy statement that I have 3 recording methods that I can use. However, my application profile tells me to use the structured description. Reading the first condition, I don't have more than 1 carrier, so this condition doesn't apply. I move down to structured description, because these are all options there. And read the policy statement. Policy statements first. I only have 1 carrier, so the policy statement itself doesn't apply, but I am instructed to see LIANZA guidance. The guidance is telling me to use the RDA VES vocabulary encoding scheme for the carrier. And as I don't have any of the resources mentioned in the table, this extra advice doesn't apply. I have the RDA VES in this option, so scrolling through the list to find an appropriate term. So it's a long list. At the bottom, of course, of this list, I have a link to check definitions if I need to. I also read that this vocabulary encoding scheme has complete coverage of scope, which means that no extra terms will be added to the RDA VES. For participants who are interested and wish to read further, this list has come from the RDA Onyx framework. The term I need is volume, which is defined as a carrier type that consists of 1 or more sheets bound or fastened together to form a single unit. But I have further options at this recording method, so I keep reading. The next option, policy statement, tells me I can use a term from the LIANZA VES if I don't have an appropriate one from the RDA VES. As I can use an RDA term, this option doesn't apply in my case. Moving to the third option, I'm instructed to apply this option, but before I do that, I need to apply the option guidance data provenance, recording a source of metadata that is not a manifestation that is being described. What this means is that I'm wanting to record the source of my metadata, i.e. RDA carrier type VES, which is not part of the manifestation, the witching tide, that I'm describing. Following the policy link, I'm taken to an option which will instruct me on how to record where I'm getting my carrier type value. As I am taken to the specific option, I need to use. I don't need to go anywhere else on this page. This condition option has a policy statement of apply, and the option tells me to record the source of information as a work source consultant of the metadata work. Before I click on the link as instructed, I'm going to reiterate what Charlotte said last week. Previously, when I was directed to another element, it was to either get a value or adjust a value for the element I was recording. Here, I'm finding a value for a different element. I'm trying to determine the value for the source consulted. Reading the definition and scope is a little bewildering, to say the least, and I've snipped it down here. So I'm going to work through it. I've also taken a snip of the condition option, which sent me to this element. I need to record a source of information where I'm getting my carrier type term from as a source consulted of the metadata work. This is to do with data provenance. Data provenance is saying where I am getting my element value from. It provides context and also a statement of quality. For example, that I'm getting my title proper from the book in hand, not Fox News. In the data provenance guidance chapter, I'm also told that the metadata being described by data provenance is treated as a metadata work that consists of a metadata statement or a metadata description set. So this is where the term metadata work comes in. Again, there is more to this, but for our purposes today, it will suffice. Remember, a single metadata statement is a metadata work in itself. Going back to the description and scope of the element I was sent to, the manifestation, in this case, think of it as a virtual manifestation, for example, a vocabulary encoding scheme list, in which there is evidence for a metadata work, in which there is a term that I am recording. I'm wanting to say where my carrier term came from. It is about the carrier type term, not part of the term itself. Now that I've worked through the definition and scope, I move on to the pre-recording section. And this is where I need to make sure that I can see the full applicable policy statement, as they do overlap. So, blue line at the top. So let me just do, no, I'm not wanting to do that. So blue line at the top goes to the section of the policy that the policy statement applies to, and the broken line at the bottom tells me that that's the end of the policy statement. The policy statement here tells me that for situations where the source I'm using doesn't have an appellation, i.e. a name, I need to see the element work note or metadata work. However, my source does have a name, RDA carrier type, so this policy doesn't apply. I'm moving to the recording section and sending various things to back. I'm told that this element I can record this element either as an unstructured description, structured description, or identifier. Reading the sentence under recording, it tells me to record this element as a value of manifestation, appellation of manifestation, or as an IRI. So I need to record the name of the manifestation. In this case, the manifestation is the vocabulary encoding scheme known as RDA carrier type. I'm actually going to do a small sleight of hand. For this presentation, I've only been looking at manifestation elements for my short application profile, the worksheet that you've seen. But you would have noticed that I'm at the work entity. On another page of my application profile, where it tells me what work elements to record, I would have been told to record this as an identifier. So, moving down to the identifiers section. At the identifier recording method, at the identifier recording method, I'm told to see National Library guidance. As I said at the start of the presentation, think of data values before encoding. Also, as noted previously, our guidance is still in draft. Reading the first sentence, our source of information does have an identifier. In the last sentence of our guidance, which I've highlighted, I'm told to go to the genre, form code, and term source codes list to find the carrier type code. Going to this list and scrolling down, I can see the identifier I need is RDA CT. Having followed National Library guidance, I come back to the toolkit. Reading the instruction at recording an identifier, I'm told to record the identifier as a value of manifestation, identifier for manifestation. The thing to remember here is the code RDA-CT is the identifier for the manifestation RDA carrier type. I've been to this page before when I was recording my ISBN, which is the identifier for my manifestation, the witching tide, so not unfamiliar. As I have been sent here to help with the element work source consulted, I can go directly to the recording section. I note the sentence under recording about nomen string, i.e. take what you see. The policy statement gives me the recording method of identifier and tells me to check guidance. So I'll do that just in case. Reading the first sentence, it tells me to record all identifiers on a resource. Well, the identifier I'm recording is not on the resource. It's from a code list. Reading further, there is nothing there that applies in my case. Working my way down the recording options. The first option deals with an ISBN, so not applicable in this case. The second option I'm told to apply the second option, and that this is for identifiers other than ISBN, ISMN. There, that's the one I wanted to send it to back. I don't need to see the guidance again as I've been there, and there isn't anything that applies in this case. Therefore, I need to record a value in a form that appears on the source of information. Remembering in this instance, our source of information is the genre form code list, and the value was RDA-CT. The third option, which I'm told to apply, is regarding a trade name, so not relevant. The fourth option, which I'm also told to apply, deals with binding or format, again, not relevant. The fifth option, which I'm told to apply, deals with manifestation, note on manifestation, again, not relevant. The condition is for an integrating resource, which I don't have. The table of contents shows the following sections aren't relevant either. As I'm done at this element, I can go back to work source consulted by the good old browser back button. There is nothing else I need from this page. So going back twice.
Eb, you're on mute.
Oh, so that was what, thank you. That was what the message is. How the heck did I manage that? All right. So I've gone back twice because there was nothing else on the identifier page that I needed to go to. So, I went back from the identifier page to the work source consulted. There was nothing there else on that particular page. So now I've gone back to the carrier type page where I was before because this was the option I clicked on. The next thing, so yes, so the next thing is in the so I've got the vocabulary encoding scheme for the source of information for the term. The next thing in on this page is the condition of none of the terms in a vocabulary encoding scheme is appropriate or sufficiently specific, which isn't applicable as I do have a term from a named VES. There are no more options under structured description, so I'm done. Adding the values for the other manifestation elements to my application profile, I have a completed worksheet. As I have now catalogued the manifestation elements using official RDA, or rather I have now catalogued them. Remember at the beginning of the presentation, I said that you can take someone else's application profile and tweak it. An example of that could be in that last element I stepped through, carrier type. At the option to record a VES, the National Libraries policy told me to work out the data provenance. If your library didn't want to do that, you could only use the term from the RDA VES and not apply the data provenance option. You can tweak it. If I was in a linked open data environment, I could get the machine to turn these into triples. However, as I'm in a Mark 21 encoding one, I would enter this data into a Mark template. And here's one I prepared earlier. Using the elements in my application profile, including the sleight of hand with the two data provenance elements as well. A couple of things to note. The format of the ISBN recorded in Mark is different to the value I recorded in my worksheet, because way down at the bottom of the Mark O2O field page at the input conventions, there is a note about display constants. Quoting, ISBN usually appears on an item with a prefix, ISBN, and with each of its parts separated from the other by hyphens or spaces. The initialism ISBN and the embedded hyphens are not carried in the Mark record. There may be system-generated display constants, unquote. Hence the difference between how I recorded my data, which retained the spacing, which RDA said to do, and as specified by the ISBN, because that was my vocabulary encoding scheme rather, and how it is encoded in Mark 21. I only showed manifestation elements on my application profile. In RDA, the element work source consulted is a work entity element, as the name states. In Mark subfield 2 is the mark code that identifies the source of the term or code used to record the, in this case, carrier type information, effectively data provenance. This is a situation where mark encoding places a manifestation data value and a work data value together into one mark field. I will try to step through the other elements that we didn't cover today and put these out on the RDA Oceania email list. Reiterating what Charlotte said last week, as you become familiar with the instructions, you will be able to work through them faster than the first time. Some elements you may need to consult less and less over time, as you've done with other cataloguing codes you have learned. My colleague Catherine Amy put together this wonderful checklist, which I'll be keeping handy on my desk. When you are starting, take your time and read the instructions carefully and understand what you are doing and why. If you have any questions, ask the collective wisdom via the mailing list. You can see it on the screen. Let's have discussions on not only how to record data values, but also why we are doing so. Also, don't forget the LIANZA Connect cataloguing community list. Remember, there is still a lot of legacy guidance in Toolkit, even though it has been optimized for linked open data. We have all learned to catalogue using various standards. We can do so again, but we need to give ourselves the space to learn. Questions? The centimeters. Actually, centimeters is not an abbreviation, so there is no punctuation at the end of centimeters. There wasn't in original RDA either. And there is in the mark input guidance on the mark page. It doesn't say anything about adding a full stop at the end of that particular field if it has centimeters. Any other questions? We've got dead silence. Joanne, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Another very stimulating presentation. There's something to go back and digest a bit later. Well, all of these presentations plus the slides will be up on either the LIANZA YouTube channel or the SIG Describe NZ page on the LIANZA website. Since we've got nothing else, I will bring the session to a close with a karakia. Ka whakaari aki te tapu ki runa kia wai te ai te ara kia turiki whakataha ai homie huie taidea. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you had a good session and learnt a lot from all these sessions.